And our next review is from the legends, the
Yeah.
last men standing from the
Eddie
90s.
Eddie Vedder really is. People are just waiting for him to go. That's terrible. I'm sorry. I love Eddie Vedder, but he's the last man standing, literally, as a frontman
Yeah,
of that era.
literally. Anyway, let's get into the new Pearl Jam album.
Indeed.
That may or may not be called Gigaton.
Gigaton. One or the other.
Gigaton.
Or was it Gigaton?
Yeah. For a while I was thinking it's Gigatron, like a transformer.
That would be pretty cool.
That would have been way cooler.
Yeah, Eddie, come on.
Gigatron transform. Way better.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And the last album was 2013, wasn't it?
Oh, 13,
13,
yeah. Right.
what's
Jesus.
it called?
Lightning Bolt.
The only album I don't own.
I own them all out of compulsion, I guess.
When we're both Pearl Jam
haven't
fans,
heard Pearl Jam. Haven't heard Lightning Bolt since 2013.
That's how good. That's how
Despite
good
owning
it was.
owning it on CD.
But I mean, going back to their old stuff, which albums do you listen to the most? Obviously 10,
Obviously
I
10 and Riot Act, actually,
Riot
even though
Act's
that's one
very-
of the least popular Pearl Jam
It
albums.
is good. I do like. I still love Vitalogy and
I like Vitalogy more now than I did when it came out,
Mm.
actually.
yeah.
But I like Versus
Oh,
way
Versus.
less now.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
I think Versus is half amazing and half really not that good. Like, I
Okay.
think Animal and Go, Rearview Mirror.
You don't like Dissident, do you?
I never liked Dissident. I think Glorified G is awful now. Like, it's so lame.
okay.
Eddie's like
What
preachy.
WMA?
I loved that back then, and I think it's less impressive now.
Oh, okay.
And I mean I like Elderly Woman Behind a
Yeah.
Counter in a Small Town still, and
But I think after that,
I think that
yeah.
I like Rats is just so whatever and
what's it called? Indifference? Is that on it?
indifferent.
So national, right? You know,
The last track, you mean?
maybe.
I like that actually. I really like
Yeah,
that. But how much difference does
That's
it
right.
make? I actually really like. I like the guitar. in
Yeah,
that
that's
song.
a good song. But I think like
I
after
will
this,
scream my lungs out. That one.
that's very good. I mean, after
I miss that Eddie, like that kind
yeah,
of.
yeah. I mean, I think after these 3 albums, they just sort of went downhill, really, didn't they?
Pretty much.
Maybe
I like.
after-
I think Binaural
after-
has some great songs on it.
Yeah, but it's also
Not a great album.
All these albums had good songs, but just never like good whole solid albums.
Probably every album they've
Every-
ever done has at least one really good song, but
Yeah. That's
but
right.
some albums literally one really good song. Like like the Avocado album. I think I only really like one.
I
song
know,
on that
actually, I
album.
like that album. Though, funnily enough,
I should probably re-listen to that actually.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's like something of that moment of that era, but
It could
something
be.
about
It could be. Yeah.
the songs. I think it's when Soundgarden put out that sort of comeback album. Is it 2000 Animal Kingdom? Was it
Animal
called?
Kingdom. Yeah.
Which I actually ended up kind of liking.
I kind of like.
It
There's
reminded me
some
of the
songs that I
Avocado
really
album.
like that on that
Mm.
album actually.
Like standard sort of rock songs, but just had their sort of the best elements of the band, which I liked. I think.
I guess so. I really wanted. I don't know. I guess because when I look at 10, the songs I like most were the songs with like what I felt had more depth to them, like Black or
Jeremy.
Porch, or
Porch.
I mean, obviously I love Jeremy or Even Flow Alive, like as great like singles, but like Once was always one of my favorite songs, and
Yeah. Oh,
and
that's the first track, wasn't it?
yeah.
What a great opening track that was.
And I just felt like, but Black was always my favorite song on the album,
Yeah.
and it still is, and I still think it's the best song they ever wrote.
Oh, I agree.
And I just feel like they've never really captured something with that level of sort of musical depth and sort of like natural, like honest, genuine emotion. Like Eddie became like this. For all like the rejection of being like big stars and like not making videos anymore and not
Yeah.
using Ticketmaster anymore, like the whole Voice of a Generation thing seemed to really. I feel like Eddie was one of those guys where it's like, I don't need to be famous. I just want to make enough money to live.
Yeah.
But secretly, he really did want to be the most famous
they
and
have
most popular person in the world.
Incredible live performances. So many.
Yeah.
And all those like the bootleg.
Yeah, I mean,
albums become proper releases, right? With them.
Oh yeah, I mean,
make money
I
out
have
of
some
that.
of them. I mean, that was a really smart idea, though,
Oh
because there were so many
certainly.
bootlegs,
Business-wise,
so many shitty bootlegs going around that they decided to just do it themselves. I think it's a great idea.
They must have made a fortune.
I mean, they basically became the Grateful Dead, right? But
okay,
pretty much.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I felt that. I think one of the reasons I like Riot Act is that first I think there's some songs that are just great songs on it, but it just feels interesting and kind of fresh. And there's some shit on it. That Bush League song about Bush, like I can't stand any time like bands are like so bluntly talking about, like somewhere on this album. He mentions Trump by name, and it's like, I know Trump's a fucking imbecile, but I don't need to hear about it in my songs. And that's the thing, like
10 years later, how's that going to sound? When you come back, it's like, oh, well, yeah. So what?
It just, I mean, I don't know. It's like, if that's exactly right. If like somebody's singing about like Lyndon B. Johnson, like on some Led Zeppelin album or something, like, what does it mean? Like, what does it matter?
Yeah.
Like Trump will, he'll be a historical idiot. That's it.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, what does George W. Bush mean now? I mean, he was such a massive thing for 8 years.
Yeah.
And then he disappeared.
Yep.
That's it. Nobody thinks about George W. Bush anymore, except they probably wish he was president again now. Compared to this idiot.
Certainly better.
But it's I don't know. I hate that aspect of Eddie, that preachy, like I'm going to tell you how to live. A lot of that stuff. But one thing was interesting with this album, because we were referencing a few times. I know we haven't really got to the album yet. Bear with us. We haven't gotten to Gigaton
Wait a second.
But one thing we were referencing before is how like Eddie took over the band based on an interview that we read with Jeff Ament, another name I'm not sure about.
I think it's Ament.
After all these years, where Jeff was like, people sort of rag on Eddie taking over the band, but the truth is, like, me and Stone just stopped bringing songs in. Eddie was the only one doing it.
Oh yeah.
So I kind of took that as gospel.
Yeah.
And then as I was looking at like the credits for this album, how everyone wrote these songs and everything, I started looking through all their albums. Every single album is full of songs written by Stone and Jeff, and even verses. Dave Abruzzi wrote "Go."
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Like, first, how are you going to kick out a guy who wrote like one of the 3 best songs on that album?
That's crazy.
Like, but anyway, it was just like, actually, that interview doesn't make any sense, does it? Like, Eddie obviously wrote plenty of songs, and all the ones you would expect Eddie to write, Eddie wrote.
Yeah.
But I was really thinking, like, it doesn't really apply at all, does it? And a lot of the songs, they all wrote together. Much like Dance to the Clairvoyance. So...
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know I don't know how to explain away like what happened to the band, except that perhaps just Eddie's general influence overtook the band of like, we gotta do these like kind of punk songs.
It does sound like he's
that aren't really punk, but like
he's the boss sort of thing.
So I mean that's like, you know, if you ever see a live performance of Sound Like Black, it's really interesting how the song is kind of driven by the bass and just these various guitar. I mean, there obviously it opens with some guitar chords, but there's a lot of just like this interplay between the two guitarists, and the bass is kind of holding it all together. Much like a lot of those songs were like that, and then Eddie just singing, and they don't do anything like that anymore. I feel like where it's. They were songs that you would find very difficult to play by yourself on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
Like, you can't play even flow on an acoustic guitar. You can't just sit and play it. You can't just sit and play a live...
It's a 4-piece band working on that.
Like,
2 guitars.
Like, you need at least one person playing guitar and one person singing. Like, it's impossible.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Nowadays, I don't think they have, like, any songs that you can't just play by yourself if you wanted to.
Yeah.
You know? So that's what I always kind of disliked the direction Pearl Jam went in, this sort of simplistic fake punk rock that isn't really punk rock.
Yeah.
More like a garage band. Like,
there's too much of that.
but with
music
three
and
guitarists. It's like when Eddie, like for a while, Eddie was playing guitar so much. I used to wonder, why is Stone even in the band still?
yeah, don't
Like,
really need him, does it?
right? Like it's
Mike's
like
doing the leads.
like
the
Mike's
lead
playing the solos
solos.
and Eddie's playing like all the rhythms. So how is Stone the rhythm guitarist? Like, what's he there for? It's sort of like when Radiohead started doing the Kid A thing, and
Yeah.
Ed O'Brien said he wondered if there was any reason for him to be there anymore.
Oh, because Tom York's doing the
Well, Tom was like,
rhythm.
well,
a lot, right?
because no, I mean they were like on the. Yeah, they were always a three guitarist band, but when they started doing all like the keyboard stuff and like sampling stuff, it was like, well, suddenly we don't even use guitars anymore. So what do I do?
Right.
Like Johnny Greenwood plays so many instruments and could do so much stuff.
Yeah.
And Tom was playing keyboards a lot more. So it was like, well what am I here for?
Right.
And he had to reinvent himself to be a relevant part of the band.
Okay.
That's literally what he said. Like he had to totally change his role to, like, I mean,
to fit into the new
some
musical
albums
style.
he's playing drums on some songs.
Okay,
right?
wow.
Like on There, him and Johnny Greenwood both played drums
they
live.
both did it, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Though.
And like Karma Police, he basically just sings backing vocals.
Oh, okay.
He didn't play any guitar, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so it's a weird thing, but it's like, for me, Stone was like that, but he was like, oh, I'll just do whatever you're doing. I mean, this is kind of what we were saying when Dance of the Clairvoyants came out. This is really such an
really
interesting
excited,
song and a great song. It's very Talking Heads.
It is Talking Heads
which
influenced.
kind of comes around for me because the first time I ever really knew anything of Talking Heads was when Eddie singing like Lift Me Up as a precursor to them doing Jesus Christ, as a Lift Me Up, right? That's what that song's called. Pulled Up, Jesus, Pulled Up. Sorry, the lyric is Lift Me Up.
Yeah.
Pulled Up. Eddie's singing like a big part of Pulled Up a cappella before they did like a cover of Neil Young's Rocking in the Free World live. That was the first time I ever really heard anything of Talking Heads.
Okay.
And to the point where I would acknowledge it. And I initially, for years and years, thought Eddie was just like improvising a pretty cool song.
Yeah.
And then years later, I actually discovered that's Talking Heads.
Okay.
Which is a song I also like. But it's kind of definitely, it's always been in my mind that Eddie loves Talking Heads, especially that first Talking Heads album, 77. And this song really does kind of remind me of that period of Talking Heads quite a bit.
So he must have been trying to make a song that sounded like them, but also sounded fresh.
I guess so.
Yeah,
that's my idea. And as we've been saying on these like best of year lists that we've been doing, Talking Heads is pretty fucking great.
Oh yeah,
so it's certainly not a bad band to start channeling. Yeah. When you want to do something different.
It's just a shame the rest of the album's not like that.
It's just the rest of the album is so like fucking obvious and Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
It's just so typically modern era Pearl Jam.
Yep. I think we're saying like the first half is the best. I mean, up to maybe track 4, sadly.
Yeah.
Quick Escape, which I guess the third track they released for the album.
Oh, was it?
Quick Escape, they had released it kind of as a single.
Guess I missed that.
It was on YouTube.
What do I want to say about this? I think it's a pretty solid album up to like track 6, is it?
7 o'clock is track 6.
7 o'clock is
pretty awful.
Pretty terrible. And like my biggest issue with the album really becomes apparent. I think even on All Right, the song All Right.
Yeah. Before that, track 5.
And 7 o'clock, as like Eddie doesn't switch up his vocals at all. Like he just like reiterating identical verse chorus patterns for the majority of like too many songs on this album for me. Like, and
some of them really stretched out, aren't they?
Like some of these songs are crazy long. I think it's for what they are.
Yeah.
And there are definitely songs like Dance of the Clairvoyants, obviously, Even Super Blood Wolf Moon has some like sections that change a bit. Quick Escape is cool, but I think too many of these songs are just the same thing
Yep.
over and over again. And like 7
yeah.
o'clock is over 6 minutes long. I would say 4 minutes in, I start thinking, well, I don't despise this anymore. But my God, going down to Jersey, gonna try and write a song. Sounds just like Bruce Springsteen, but it isn't good enough.
that's basically it.
Like, shut the fuck up, Eddie.
Yeah. How about that song "Buckle Up" then?
About
how to wait, how you should wear your seatbelt.
Should we pop a bit of Buckle Up on?
Sounds like we're just destroying his album now.
I see. I still think, even though I think Buckle Up is awfully useless, it is a useless song. Not quite Airbag from Radiohead, eh? Similar themes, very different execution. But is there anything more pointless than Never Destination?
Yeah.
Another absolute waste of time from exclusively from the pen of Eddie Vedder. Like, just, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like a terrible song inherently, like it's unlistenable or anything.
That's right.
But it is just so fucking pointless and boring and you know, like on a 57-minute album, how the fuck did Never Destination make the cut?
57? Is it that long?
Yeah.
How long was 10? That was like around 50, wasn't it, I reckon?
Have a look.
Yeah.
I mean, 57 minutes, and they were like, "No, we got to get this Never Destination." It's a total waste of time. If they collected 4 minutes of the bands farting into the mic and put that on instead, it would have been a better use of time and resources.
Oh, it's 53 minutes. Yeah, definitely. It's actually 53 minutes. That was longer than I thought.
I mean, I have the Japanese version, even though I didn't live in Japan.
I guess there's like a 67-minute version.
Yeah, I have like with three bonus tracks, Dirty Frank Wash, and like a live version of Alive. That was the B-side on another single.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I never felt the album was too long, even with those songs. I love Wash. Dirty Frank is whatever, and Alive is always going to be a solid song. Wash is a great song, right? So
it's not a good sign of an album, is it, when you start thinking it's too long?
No.
It's like, come on, lads, just tie it.
This album's wrap it up. Twice the length of like a lot of albums these days.
Yeah.
And
except hip hop.
Except for those guys.
100 minutes.
Gotta get 28 songs.
Gotta get those 20 tracks in somehow.
But
yeah. Anyway, that's different.
It's just, So if it was earned, there's plenty of long albums.
Yeah.
That I love. That I don't think, oh my god, this is long. Just love it. And I wish every album was an hour long and great. I wish that. I hate when albums like 25 minutes and you put them in the car and you just hear the same song 20 times by the time you get back home again.
Sure.
That's not great. But on an album that's already like 57 minutes long, how did this piece of shit get in there? Not great, just not great.
I mean, thinking about their last few albums, would you say this is, say, better than Lightning Bolt and what was before it? Was it the Avocado one?
No. It was.
Was it Riot Act?
No, Riot Act was
Binaural.
Binaural was before Riot Act.
Oh, yeah, I have no idea.
let me pop up the old discography here.
Yes. So
before Lightning Bolt was Backspacer.
Backspacer, that's the one. That was very average, wasn't it?
Well, it is, absolutely. But I will say that Just Breathe is a really nice song.
There you go. The one good track on every album.
There might be some other decent songs there. Johnny Guitar is not one of them. I remember that.
Okay.
Fuck's sake. And that's a Matt Cameron Stone Gossard abortion right there.
Abortion.
Like Lightning Bolt, what did that have?
I don't even know.
Sirens, even though it's a really corny, fucking obvious song, it was still the best song on the album, and I quite liked it. Yeah. Not a lot there, eh? So I would probably say this is better by default of having at least one song that is much better than those two albums.
Yeah.
The Avocado album was before that, but even that, like I remember
I still
liking
think-
Worldwide Suicide, but I don't remember any other songs on that
Yeah.
album. Any others, in
Yeah.
fact. So really like Riot Act. I think Binaural has some really good songs. Yield has a couple of good songs. Given the Fly is a good
I always
song.
used to like No Code back in the day, just because, I don't know, some of the tracks I never thought were beautiful. But yeah, in terms of the whole
That was an album like I
discography, it's
never
not their
really
best.
got into. I liked Who You Are, but I never really got into No Code that much.
Yeah, Off He Goes I always liked.
Yeah,
And
it's probably one I should re-listen to. So, I mean, it's not really a stellar discography, is it? It's like,
Well, when you think about it, and the things like we were saying, I mean, 10 is just so great. Though, how
Yeah.
could you ever repeat something like that?
yeah,
Like say with Soundgarden, Super Unknown as well. I mean, although I think the albums before were fantastic too. That really was obviously their you know, what's the word? Magnum opus.
yes.
But
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But I mean, Bad Motorfinger is fucking great
Oh
album
god,
too.
yeah, fantastic. Louder than love.
I certainly don't think Pearl Jam have two albums of that quality.
Yeah.
To be
I
honest.
think so.
Um,
But
or like, you know, Siamese Dream and
Oh, gotcha.
Melancholy, or you Facelift and Dirt even, I don't think they do.
Yeah.
So it's
not to say that Pearl Jam aren't a good
no, I
group.
mean,
Yeah, it's just
yeah,
they let us down a lot, I guess.
it's just it's a weird thing that
Hmm.
I think part of the legend of Pearl Jam is like obviously mostly from 10 and partly from Versus, but also the fact that they were involved with the Temple of the Dog project
Mother
and
Love
that
Bone,
and Mother Love Bone,
which
and
was
it's
incredible stuff.
and sort of like great songs they put on the single soundtrack that never ended up on real albums. That
State of Love and Trust, right?
State of Love, like Breathe is a good
Oh,
song.
Breathe,
State of
yeah.
Love and Trust is a great song,
Yeah.
and it's sort of like that that Oasis thing, right? With Noel Gallagher wished he could have taken back some of those B-sides for their third album.
Yeah.
Like
that's right.
I feel like almost like, well, maybe you could have put State of Love and Trust and Breathe on like No Code or something.
Yeah,
you know? Like,
yeah, that would have been better.
maybe that would have helped pad out Vitalogy a little bit stronger or something.
Yeah.
But so we didn't need that like Privacy, privacy.
Oh Jesus, terrible. Oh god, yeah, some of his albums had this like filler, didn't they?
Like
Just trash.
Eddie's idea of making a statement is to just like wreck the flow of an album.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
like guys, we need something unlistenable.
Yeah. I'm gonna fart into
And
the microphone here.
Track. How about track 5? I just complain about being rich for 5 minutes. Anyway, what are you gonna go?
I'm gonna give it a generous 3,
Yeah,
just for the songs that I like. And I mean, it's like I said, it's half average and half good, I'd say. So that's why I'm going with a 3. How about you?
I'm going 2.5.
Okay, fair enough.
I could possibly bump it to a 3. It's kind of a heavy 2.5, but I just think so much of it is just boring as fuck.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
after 4 songs, I'm basically done. So